Welcome back, listeners, to the BizBlend podcast, the show where business meets real talk. I'm your host, Sana, as always, and today we are getting honest about what it actually takes to succeed in business. Well, not just the headlines or the hustle hype, but the mindset, strategy, and resilience needed to build something that works. Listeners, my guest is David Goldstein. He's the best selling author of the 9% Club and a seasoned founder with 2 decades of hands on experience. And his ventures have been recognized nationally, but more than the spotlight, what drives him is helping other entrepreneurs beat the odds with practical, no fluff insights. So, listeners, if you have ever felt stuck, stretched thin, or you are unsure whether you are even building the right business or not, this episode is for you. So, with that, David, welcome to the show, and I'm absolutely excited to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is super exciting.
Absolutely. David, obviously, the 9% Club, the book. I mean, I would love to know the story behind, why it's a 9% club, not a 1% or a 10%. And how exactly, I mean, because your book, what I can make of is it digs into what separates the few founders who thrive from the majority who burn out. So if you can, shed some light on it.
Yeah. It's a funny name, right? and um, and the reason for it is 91% of businesses fail, and so you know, and having been part of that throughout my journey,
Mm.
what do the 9% do differently, right? And there was a lot they do differently, and so wrote when I wrote the book, it was well. My mission is how do we take people and transform them into 9 percenters so that they can fulfill the dreams they had, right? I mean, us founders, it's not just about money, right? We have a purpose, a mission, passion to bring our products and services to the world, and it's just a shame that so many aren't able to do that. And the reason for it, there's been no playbook, my first business was when I was 9 years old. I got up dog poop in people's backyards. And instinctively, within 2 weeks, I had 10 houses, making $40 a week and 9 years old in the 80s.
Wow.
And still with that, even fast forward, had a lot of failures. There's no playbook. And so, you know, and my passion's always been to help people become successful, whether it's coaching kids in their sports, helping people with their careers, or certainly founders be successful. And so, well, can we remove some of these problems that we all make? Get the playbook, shorten that curve to success, and most importantly, get the systems that are required to scale and have success. So that's what we try to aim in the book, and of course, we're giving away all the proceeds to homeless vets, and so there's a lot of missions to what we're doing here.
Absolutely. That is absolutely inspiring. David, 9 years, just for 9 years. I mean, um, I don't even remember what the hell I was doing in the age of 9 years, but that is absolutely inspiring. And secondly, um, regarding the stats, I mean, you mentioned the 91% of businesses fail. So is it the startups or the early stage founders, or it's like just an Uber number that you gave? Uh, of
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. Certainly startups, obviously. Um, I talk about in the book, where Um, you really got to strategies and plans, but also chapter 2 is not all revenue is created equally. And we see, um, there's a venture startup by Meg Whitman and some others. I think Oprah backed it, and that thing fell apart like in less than a year. So it's not just, you know, small company starters with no budgets, although that's very common. It goes across this whole spectrum. And I think the reason for that is, especially when you're looking at the smaller companies, um, which is probably the majority of companies out there, um, we have this mindset that you just hustle, right? If you can out hustle problems, and that's just the way we're raised. It's what's ingrained in us, and it's just not true. You got to hustle, but you can't out hustle problems that we experience with growth in businesses. And there's systems and there's journeys and processes, and that's what we try to help people with is saying, hey, um, you know, show me a problem, show me a revenue issue, show me whatever. Usually it's in that process and other things, but it's execution is really big. The whole back half of the book talks about execution. We try to simplify it with what I use, the STEER framework, um, and just to kind of really simplify it down. But without execution, you have nothing. And I think what a lot of folks don't understand is especially people that are running companies that aren't on don't come from revenue. They might be amazing at technology or they're an expert in their space and a scientist, whatever. And their product or service might truly be the best in the world. But if you're not driving revenue, you don't have a company. And I think that's so misunderstood by many founders. You can't run out of money and you got to drive revenue, but you got to drive good revenue that can facilitate the growth and that's something that took me many years to understand that there is a difference in different types of revenue and profits.
Yeah, absolutely. Even we have observed this in celebrity led brands as well. I mean, they have their followers, they have their, aura and everything. Yet there are some basics that are needed to run a successful business. So, with that, David, I would like to, this is what I believe that many entrepreneurs they confuse momentum with progress. So how can someone tell if they're actually growing a healthy business versus just being busy and burning out, like that hustle and the out hustle that you mentioned? It's like, are there any metrics, are there any analysis to do just to do a course correction?
Yeah, it's a great point, a great question. That's really what the book is a lot of it's about. And to put a plug in it for a second, it was written to be a how-to manual. So with action items. So actually in the book, and we have some free resources, certainly in the community we do this. There's tools that we have that people can just do exactly what you were saying.
Mhm.
But um, first off, I believe in every project, every action, everything, there's gotta be a strategy behind it. It doesn't have to be this crazy, you know, 6-week strategy, but there's gotta be a purpose to what we're doing. Projects we're working on, things we're rolling out. And and with that, so we need to have a strategy and tactics. So this is the steer model. So it's strategies, tactics. Okay, well, how are we gonna get this done? E
Mhm.
is execution. You got to do it. And then very important is the adjustments and then of course the reporting. But the adjustments is this tactic working? Is this strategy working? Are we getting the outcomes we want? And I'll give you an example. I'm very I just published an article on Forbes about this. I'm very passionate about this because I think a huge miss on companies is they spend all this time and money on getting new customers and then they do nothing to service them. And I think we confuse customer service and success with it's really proactive, right? When people complain is when companies kick into action. So if you think about that for a second, to answer your question, you think about that for a second. So a company could be doing servicing, quote unquote, their customers the right doing it the way they're doing it could be really, really good. But if it's not purposeful, if it's not hitting the right mission and the right strategic goal, then it's worthless. And then you spend all that time and money on that poor project at the expense of actually, say, retaining your customers and really helping them get the outcomes they want and this that because that's what's going to drive the sustainability of a company. So so what we do is for everything that we're looking to do project we have a playbook for everything, right? An SOP, a standard operating procedure. Um and it's not annoying and like corporate and academic, but it's everything we do. We need to have a purpose. Why are we doing it? We always ask a question, and this is the long answer to your short question, but the crux here is ask that question why. Why are we doing this? Why is this helpful? Is this going to drive revenue? Is it going to help our customer experience? Is it going to drive operational, efficiencies? Whatever it is, ask that question why, and then don't be afraid to cross it off the list and stop. And so many folks, I had former business partners that, nope, we're committed to this. We're going to see it through. And it's like, well, it could be the wrong actions. And it's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to continue being wrong.
Mhm. I agree with the last one. It's okay to be wrong, folks, or okay to continue with doing with the wrong. So that's quite a nuanced one. David, you have worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs. So, um, any patterns that you see across, those who stay stuck, even when they are so talented and hardworking, and they are the experts. I mean, in their category or industry, they would be like the 1%.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, oh gosh, we see it all the time. They're so gifted in what they do. They are the experts. They're really, really, really good at that. Business is different, right? I mean, you gotta drive revenue, you gotta have this thing sustainable, you gotta be able to see into the future a little bit, and you have to learn that. And now, not everybody, um, has the same capabilities. So that expert in whatever, AI coding or something, um, doesn't necessarily need to be the CEO either. Right? We see this a lot with large medical practices, surgical, they have a practice administrator running their company while they can do what they're really gifted at. So tell founders, "Hey, you know, you gotta learn leadership, you gotta learn how to be a CEO, because again, it's not taught. But if that's not you and you're not wanting to do these things, that's okay. Let's find somebody that can do that for you. So which will enable you to go drive it. A great illustration is Google, right? I mean, what did Larry Page and Sergey Brin do? They got, Eric Schmidt to go ahead and run their company for them, right? Which enabled them to make Google and do all the stuff they need to do. So, but I would say, founders, they get stuck in putting out fires. And it's just how we're ingrained. We don't, as people, typically do things for prevention. We'd rather do something, get a headache, and take a Tylenol or an Advil than preventing that headache from occurring. It's just the way we're wired, unfortunately. And when we see that in businesses, founders are doing that every single day, putting out fires, and they don't have the time or the know-how to invest in systems that will prevent those and allow them the room to grow. And then we have this ingrained work ethic, right? Like, we gotta have a strong work ethic, but we think that the bigger the problems, the harder we have to work. And then we start seeing, and myself included, right? And we just grind it out, but you gotta take that time to shut it down. I can go, 32 hours straight. Sometimes I'm like, "I forgot to eat." If I'm really on a project, but then I balance it out, and I'll have that same amount of off time to let free up my brain and just let things kinda go back. And so so that's some of the biggest mistakes I see is you just can't grind out those problems, and it comes down to leadership, I think, is a big component of it, and I focus a lot about that with people is you gotta learn how to lead, you gotta have the right people in place. Took me a few years to understand that. For me, I surround myself with people that are way smarter, way more gifted, and can execute better than me. My talent is I can get them to do what they need to do and backs the heck out of the way, and that frees me up to look at longer term planning.
Hmm. Yes. Um,
That was a lot. I hope that
David, get that. Definitely. It definitely did help. And I think now we have kind of, run uh, through all the problems, the status quo, and we have kind of looked at what exactly happens. Now, let's talk about, execution, or the solutions. So, everyone preaches strategy, but very few they talk about how to execute well without falling apart. So, David, what's one tactical shift a founder can make this week to get closer to that 9%?
go to 9percenter.com and download some of our free resources because we have templates for that. You know, look, it's again, we talk about the 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 STEER framework, is STEARs, and I call it strategical tactics. You gotta have a balance. You know, yeah, I used to ask this in interviews, do you do the right things or things the right way? And it can't be both. And the right answer is you do the right things because you could be doing the wrong things the right way all day long. So you have to keep that in check. And I don't care what company, it could be, you know, whatever, you know, Amazon, General Motors, they're the largest to the smallest company. There's no way when you get out of a conference room if your plan is going to work, right? And that's why you got to act. So you got to have a balance. If you're too strategic, you're academic and you're going nowhere. If you're too tactical, you're too cavalier and you'd be doing the wrong thing. So you gotta have that balance. You gotta have a strategy for every single thing you do, right? We're gonna go, um, we're rolling out a funnel to something. We do the steer model. We're gonna go tackle something. We do the steer model. So it's that strategy. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's why. Okay, and how we're gonna accomplish it. What are the tactics? What are the things we're gonna do? Execute. You got to take action. We're gonna do these things and then adjust is A. And that's where you have to micro adjustments and then report it. You gotta have dashboards, you gotta see some or Excel sheet, something to show your progress or lack thereof. But, a really good, example here is just look at sports, right? You got I'm a huge college football fan. Um, NFL, the any sport does it. They work, but if you look at football, they work, gosh, 6 days a week preparing, planning, whatever for 60 minutes of football, right? They have all these things, their game plans, everything. The minute that game starts, they're starting to make micro adjustments, right? And the same thing is true in business. So it's you come out of the room and you go, the conference room, you go, hey, here's what we're gonna do. And then you got to start seeing is it getting the results we want? If not, if not, do we need to tweak it? Or do we need to eliminate it? And you can't just eliminate something because it's not working. You got to figure it out. But we wanna, maybe a A/B test. And then when you find out what's working, now you start optimizing. And it's taking that, looking at results. We did this with a client with their abandoned carts. Um, we got some really good results and we started saying, okay, well, how can we optimize? And we started, looking at different metrics and how long someone's on the phone, what qualifies as a phone call. We didn't know. We just said, hey, let's try this and adjust it. And that's how we took something to, from tens of thousands to multi-millions. And so it's that. Now the other thing too is you gotta hold yourself accountable. So that's the steer framework is how you do it, but then you gotta so I'm a big fan of OKRs, and that's objectives and key results. Measure What Matters, great book. That's what, Google and LinkedIn and all those companies use, and that's just what are these things you're gonna accomplish this quarter? What are you gonna do and how are you gonna do it? And that keeps you focused on the really, really important things. We get caught up in so many tasks throughout the day, we gotta stay focused on what's important, and I think that focus is a big driver. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. That's I think a good way to look at this because I've noticed many people they skip feedback loops or kind of procrastinate hard decisions. Uh, it's just natural. It's natural. It's kind of the the way our brains are wired. As you mentioned. Um, Great. So before we wrap up, David, if our listeners they would like to get started, you did mention, but once again, I would like to ask if they would like to connect with you and get a hold of your book, The 9% Club, and also get to explore more about the resources that you're providing. What will be the best way?
Yeah, thank you. So we want people to become 9 percenters. So come to our site, 9percenter, so PERCENTER, so 9 like the number, so 9percenter.com. And we have some free resources, but like I said, it's it's our mission to help founders. I'd mentored MBA programs and VC fund, we want people to be as successful as they can. So we gotta, if you want to join the community where we provide access to our AI tools that we use, that 7, 8-figure companies use, trainings, speaker series, so many things, networking abilities, a whole cool community. we try to make it super affordable, $9 a month, I joke it's less than 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks. Um, and the reason why it's not free, we thought about free because 'cause we're so passionate, is there's no value in free, so, anyone can afford $9. And so come there, we love to have people, join the community, and then, we're continuing our mission to help homeless vets. We donate 100% of the proceeds from the book to AMVETS, help and support homeless vets, and then, of course, um, part of the proceeds from the monthly fees, we do that too. So, we're trying to create this community of success for founders and and business folks, but also we want everyone to have by joining the community, they're going to have an impact in helping homeless vets as well. Something that's very passionate to us. So we're trying to build this whole thing, and it's very, very, very cool.
That's really inspiring, David. Really inspiring.
Thank you.
It's noble and it's inspiring and it's ambitious as well. So, thank you so much, David. I'll make sure to add all the links and details in the show notes for our listeners. And once again, thank you so much, David, for I think you definitely uh, reminded us that success isn't just doing about more and more. I think it's doing about, it's about doing what moves the needle. So, doing the right things, as you said. So, thank you so much. This was absolutely a blast.
Thank you for having me.
And to all the listeners out there, that's a wrap on this powerful conversation on BizBlend. If you are building something that matters and want to stop spinning your wheels, take this as your cue to rethink the hustle trap and get strategic. And if you loved this episode, share it with a founder friend who might need to hear it. Until next time, I'm your host Sana, and this is BizBlend, where ambition meets intention. Thank you.